Hi everyone, Howard Gearhauser here with my dad, Dr. G. I hope everyone is having a wonderful morning or evening or afternoon, depending on where you're at. Today we have a really important topic because I know a lot of you might be scared of the coronavirus, so we want to teach you about a major key to build your immune system. That way you can kind of put some of this fear at bay, knowing you're doing what you can control in terms of bolstering your immune system. And this is a topic we've talked about quite a bit, but there's some new evidence showing that this really controls the immune system. And if you can get this right, your immune response is going to be perfectly in balance and not overreactive either. And we'll touch on that as well. So Dad, can you tell us about this major key? What's going on here?
All right. Well, one of the keys to having an optimal functioning immune system is our circadian rhythm. So our circadian rhythm is a set of clocks. So we have clocks in our eye, in our brain, and really in all of our cells, all of our tissues. In fact, all life on Earth has these circadian clocks. So the circadian clocks have been part of life on Earth, and really life on Earth doesn't happen without these. And new science, and it's just recently that this has become kind of a mainstream scientific topic. It was awarded the Nobel Prize in 2017. But science is showing that our biochemistry, our physiology, even our behavior is controlled by these molecular clocks. So the clock system is comprised of genes that encode for specific proteins, and those proteins then cause the expression of other genes and other proteins. So there's kind of a controlling, and they've worked out what these are. Although they keep finding new ones, this research is expanding rapidly. A lot of the research is kind of in its infancy. There's probably way more that's unknown versus what's known. But what I can mention today is just some of the evidence how this mechanism of the circadian clocks is really the key to our immune system. And so our immune system is really the biggest thing that's going to protect us from invaders like a virus or a bacteria or a fungus or a parasite, whatever it is. Our immune system is really the key. Even in things like infectious diseases, it's been shown that you give an antibiotic for a bacterial infection. Well, if your immune system doesn't clean up what the antibiotic started, you're still likely to not survive that infection. So the evidence for our immune system being controlled by these clocks first comes to us from mouse studies. And why do we look at mouse studies? You might say, well, you know, a mouse is not necessarily human, but the mouse has the same system, the same protein, clock proteins like BMAL1, BMAL1. I'm not going to say its long drawn out name because my tongue would get tied in a knot and then I would try and talk like that. Another protein, gene and protein. So genes code for proteins. So the clock mechanism is a gene, and then it expresses through our DNA a protein, and that protein has an action that could be to affect another gene to make another protein and so on down the line. So there's a series of these. So in mice, it's easy to figure out what one of these proteins does, the gene protein, what it does by deleting the gene in the mouse. So that scientists are able to do that fairly easily. You know, that doesn't sound easy to me to take out one little gene, but they can do it. So they take out the BMAL1 gene. So they take a mouse, and the equivalent in the mouse of taking out the BMAL1 gene is like putting a mouse on the graveyard shift. So you take that clock protein, which gets messed up if you have the wrong light environment in your environment, like a night shift worker would do. So what happens when you expose that mouse to a virus? Well, you take out the clock gene, then the virus increases faster, it becomes more reactive, and there's just more virus in the mouse when you delete the BMAL1 clock protein. So that tells us that this is critically important in mice, okay? Then they did a study, and we have a link to the article that talks about these steps of the process of figuring this out. But they took the BMAL1 deleted mice and they exposed them to respiratory syncytial virus, which is a common virus that causes respiratory illness, and then also parainfluenza virus. And they found that the mice, when the BMAL1 was removed, got much sicker and had way more virus in them. So it's telling us directly that these clock proteins are critically important for our immune system. Now, there's two sides to this coin. There is enhancing the immune system. So something that stimulates it causes us to create more antibodies to the virus to increase the macrophages. These are molecules, these are cells inside of us that engulf an invader. And they did studies with a herpes virus in mice, and they found that if they deleted the BMAL1 protein, that the viral load was much increased, and the macrophages weren't able to track that. The macrophage acts like a bulldog, and it sniffs its way to the invader. And they call that chemotaxis. It goes toward the invading organism. Well, that didn't happen, or that function was abolished or diminished when the clock protein was taken away. Now, on the opposite side of the coin is overreaction of our immune system. So you may have heard of sepsis. So sepsis is a condition that is extremely life-threatening. In fact, most of the people that die of coronavirus or influenza or bacterial infection or other invader, most people die from sepsis. And sepsis is actually partially an overreaction of our immune system. So they did a series of studies where, again, they delete a certain gene that makes a clock protein. This time it was period 2 protein. So they had period 2 deleted mice, and then they also did this with the BMAL1 again. And they found that if you had that circadian disruption, you had an much increased risk of death from sepsis. Okay? So this is getting back to, this is the mouse equivalent of shift work. Now, yes, you may not work the graveyard shift, but do you watch television at night? Do you turn the lights on in your kitchen at night? Do you look at your cell phone at night or your computer monitor at night? If you do, that's the same stimulus that a shift worker gets. And what it does is it creates a daytime response when there should be a nighttime response, because your eye just sees the light. It doesn't know it's not the sun. And so it thinks it is. So the immune system goes in waves. It has a peak and a trough. A peak is where the immune system is most vigilant and most reactive, and a trough is when it remains quiescent. And the theory of why that happens is to keep the immune system at peak energy at all times would kill us, because it would take up too much energy. We need to recover. You can't keep something on high alert at all times. So we go through these cycles. So going down is as important as going up. So if we don't go down, we're more prone to sepsis, where we have a heightened immune response and it's highly fatal. So what they found in these mice with the PER2 and the BMAL1 deleted mice died of sepsis way more than the mice that had these clock genes intact. So here's a lesson for us. These same findings are being found in humans. And one of the leading causes of death from coronavirus or whatever infectious disease you get is sepsis. And sepsis is correlated to a lack of these clock proteins, which directly comes about in us if we don't mind nature's rules. So nature said the sun comes up at a certain time, it stays up, and then it goes down, and then it should stay down if you turn on the lights. So what do we tell our clients? To wear blue blocking glasses to protect our circadian rhythm after the sun goes down. Now, I know that may sound radical, but we've been preaching this now for 7 years, and the science is just now catching up to what to me seemed obvious. Follow what happens in nature. Don't follow what mankind thinks is convenient. Now, the other thing that's involved and has been shown in the mouse studies is there's other things that set our circadian rhythm, and one of those is eating food. So when you eat food, like in a mouse, a mouse eats food at night because mice are nocturnal and they eat food at night. And when they do that, then their circadian rhythm and their resistance to infectious disease stays high. So more mice survive if exposed to a virus. But if you feed a mouse when it should be sleeping, the opposite happens. It turns around their circadian rhythm and they're more prone to getting an infection. So humans, we are daytime animals. As much as you would like to be a nighttime animal, we are not nighttime animals. We don't have good vision at night. And therefore, we have our clients try to eat their food during the day or at least as close to the daylight period as possible. Sometimes that gets hard in the dead of winter. If you live far in the north, you don't want to eat at 4 o'clock sometimes. But we find as long as you eat within an hour or two of sunset, you're usually good. And the later you eat, the more problematic it becomes.
So to add to that, we have separate videos covering a lot of these topics: sepsis, septic shock, minding your artificial light at night, circadian rhythm. So go check those out. Is there anything else you wanted to add, Dad?
No, I think that this is a key, not following our fellow lemmings off the cliff. This science is new, but this science is real. It was awarded the Nobel Prize in 2017. Doctors aren't talking about it yet, but that's coming. Probably, I would guess, 10, maybe 20 years from now.
And nature's had this right the whole time. The science is just supporting what nature has already done, what ancient civilizations already intuitively knew. They were forced to be outside, so they didn't have to worry about any of this stuff. It's our modern environments that are taking us away from the circadian rhythm. So just, remember that. Reconnect with nature, and your immune system should work just fine. So we'll see you guys on the next video. Thanks for watching.